Have you ever wondered how to run your entire Django project with Postgres and Docker using just one simple command? In this video, we are going to create a docker-compose.yml configuration that brings everything together. So, or in this corner, or in that, I leave you the link. We are going to create a Docker Compose configuration for our project. So in the root of the project, create a new file and name it docker-compose.yml. So at the top of the file, we are going to type version colon 3.9, and then we are going to type services. So this line version colon 3.9 specifies the Docker Compose file format version, not the Python version or Docker version. It defines the syntax and features available in your docker-compose.yml file, like how you define services, volumes, networks, and etc. Anyway, you can continue using it or remove it entirely if using a recent Docker Compose version. Then we define the services block. This is the main section in a Docker Compose file. Docker Compose files typically consist of one or more services that our application depends on. Under the services section, we have app as the name of our service. This service will run the Docker file and start our application. Next, we have the build section with context colon dot, which refers to the current directory. This tells Docker Compose to build the Docker file located in the current directory. The context is basically the folder that Docker uses to look for the Docker file and any files it needs during the build process. The dot simply means use the current directory, the one from which we are running the docker compose command. Then we define the port mappings. This maps port 8000 on our local machine to port 8000 inside the Docker container. It allows us to access the application running inside the container from our browser or API client by navigation to localhost colon 8000. In other words, it connects the container's internal network to our local machine so we can interact with the Django development server. Next, we have volumes. Volumes are a way of mapping directories from our local system into the Docker container. In this case, we are mapping the app directory from our project to /app inside the container. This is useful because it allows any changes we make to our code locally to be immediately reflected inside the running container. That way, we don't need to rebuild the container every time we change a line of code. The updates sync automatically with the container in real time. So finally, we have command. This is the command that will be used to run the service. We can override it when we run Docker Compose using the Docker Compose run command, something we will be doing quite a bit throughout this course. However, by default, if we don't specify a command, Docker Compose will use the one defined in our docker-compose.yml file. So, I want to make you smile, so here's a joke for you. I asked Docker Compose if any data would still be there in the morning. It said, relax, I'm using volumes. So if you do Ctrl+S and inside the terminal, you can start typing docker-compose space build. And we'll build our Docker image. So we have created our Docker Compose configuration. We can move on the next lesson. Finally, in the next video, we are going to create our Django project using Docker Compose. So please subscribe and hit the bell to don't miss any updates.